is yours, Maan and Chaham.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So welcome to this session of ArchiDesign Talks at Bachelor University. Our valuable guest today will be from the University of Sultan Qaboos in Oman. Dr. Chaham Alalouch, he's an associate professor in architectural engineering. He's also editor-in-chief at Open House International, Sustainable and Smart Architecture and Urban Studies. He's all in all, he's working in architecture, urbanism, but also he's regularly interested in improving the people's quality of life through sustainable and smart design and construction for buildings and city both. He's a winner of several awards, like the Outstanding Reviewer Awards in 2021 by Emerald Publishing at the United Kingdom, the National Research Award in 2020 by the Ministry of Higher Education in Oman, the Distinguished Academician also in the Sultan Qaboos University in Oman, and the winner of Highly Commended Award in 2010 by the Emerald Literati Network Awards for Excellence. He has published a large number of outputs in international referees press, including including high-impact journals, conference book, editing books also, a number of technical reports covering a wide range of topics related to his board of interest. He has a bachelor degree and diploma degree from the in architectural engineering from the University of Aleppo, and he has a Ph.D. from Heriot-Watt University at the United Kingdom. So, short introduction of Dr. Alalouch, and then now the scene is for you. Please start.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maan, for this introduction and for inviting me for this lecture series. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Today, the title of my talk, I think we are all interested in. It's about technology. The title is Lost in the Digital Era, and I think we are all lost and trying to find our way within this flood of technology that are coming gradually. But in this lecture, I'm challenging the technological dogma in architecture and urbanism. As Dr. Maan introduced me, I'm an associate professor at Sultan Qaboos University in Oman, Sultanate of Oman, and I'm also the editor-in-chief of Open House International, which is a Q2 index journal, Scopus indexed, and ISI. So anyone has a very good high quality paper, he's welcome to consider this journal for submission. And by the way, Turkey is one of the most, one of the countries that we receive papers from the most, actually. I'd like to think myself as an active researcher. My citations up to now is about 1,500, and I'm keeping publishing science as much as I can. I'd like to start my lecture with this quote for Professor Bill Hillier from his famous book, Space is a Machine. And for the students, if you haven't come across this book yet, I hardly advise you to download this available PDF online, free. So you can download it and start reading through it, especially the master students. Professor Bill Hillier said, architecture is analogous to language. That might sound odd to you, but if you think about it, language consists of words that exist in dictionary and rules, which are the grammar. But if you take words from the dictionary and put them in a grammatically correct sentence, this sentence might not mean anything unless there's a human being involved in forming this sentence. So human being involvement in the language, it gives the sentences the meaning out of this language. Architecture is similar, actually. Architecture consists of elements that we all know: walls, windows, ceiling, form, space, furniture, etc. And rules, which are unity, harmony, interlocking, gaseous theory, etc. But if you take the architectural elements and put them together using these rules that you all learned in design theories in the early stage of your study, the architecture might mean nothing to the people who used it. You must, as a designer, involve people in the design process in order to give meaning to that design. And I found this analogy between architecture and language is very, very insightful. And actually, this forms the motto, the motivation behind almost all the work I do. So my general motto that overarch the different research I do is that I believe a building or a city is not sustainable unless it's seen as such by its inhabitants. Go and design that net zero energy building, a building that does not consume any energy, a building that actually generates energy more than what it needs, a building that's LEED certified. But if it's not seen as sustainable by the inhabitants, by the stakeholders, including the users themselves, for me, the building is not sustainable. At the end of the day, we're designing for people, not only to build a building that we call sustainable, whereas it does not function according to people's desire. So people involvement in the design process is a core for any successful design. At a philosophical level, and this is, I think, also important for master students, I think the world is based on regularities rather than truth. And this does not mean that truth does not exist, but our limited capability of the mind that we have does not allow us to capture truth. But we can understand regularities from the interaction between physical and social phenomena. So truth is there, but I believe we cannot capture it, but we can capture regularities. And this is what we do in social research, like in architecture and urbanism. We look for regularities. We observe, for example, pedestrian movement to understand the pattern of movement, the regularities of movement. And the aim is actually to benefit a certain population at the end of the day. I believe a good research starts with a simple question at the conceptualization stage. The question should be simple, straightforward, but should go through sophisticated, rigid, and scientifically valid research methodology. And this is a key. This is what makes science science, is the rigidity of the method that we use. And this process is supposed to end with a simple answer that benefits certain population. So good research, start with simple question, go through sophisticated, rigid, and scientifically valid methodology or methodological approach or approaches, then end up with a simple answer that benefits certain population. In terms of the research topic that I do, I actually do research mainly on three topics. I've done a lot of research on space syntax at building and urban levels. I've done a lot of research on sustainability. And actually now we're developing like a sustainability rating system based on stakeholder perception. Well, it's not based on calculations like the LEED and other available tools. So it goes in line with our understanding of the research in architecture. And recently I'm doing research on smart cities, basically on how best to involve stakeholders in designing smart cities using smart technology, using 3D digital tools. And I supervised a PhD on this topic with a case study was in Netherlands and a master thesis in Oman, which is very fascinating and up-to-date topic. But today I'm not going to talk about any of these three topics. Today, I'm going to talk about technology in design. The aim of my talk is actually to stimulate thoughts on a number of fundamental questions at ontological, epistemological, philosophical, and practical levels regarding the use of technology. And also, I would like to present the technology as a design paradigm rather than being a design tool. Like similar to parametric architecture, generative architecture, it's a design paradigm, it's a new way of design. It's not only a tool. And I have a paper on this published in 2018, as far as I remember, in ArchNet IJAR journal. And I think technology, we should look at the technology as a new design paradigm, as opposite to being a simple design tool. Also, I'd like to ensure that technology does not compromise a human creativity, but rather complement it. We should look at technology as something to support us to create, to be, pardon me, to be more creative, but we should not allow technology to replace us as a designer, and we'll see now why. So I structured the lecture into 4 questions. First, I start with the first question, and this is a question for you. What do you think makes us human? Why we are human? Think of that question. Think deeply. Take a minute and digest that question. Why do you think we are human? Well, let's see. Before I tell you my perspective on this, let's see the philosopher's perspective on this everlasting topic. Plato thinks that we are human because of our rationality. Actually, he believes that we are rational being before we had bodies. So our ability to rationalize things and rationalize decisions is what makes us human. Aristotle thinks that we are human because of our sociability. We are a social animals, as he called human being. We live in groups. We have a need to socialize, and this is what defines our humanity from his perspective. Later, Descartes believes that we are human because we think. We can evaluate alternatives. We make decisions. Hume thinks that we are human because our emotions overcome our rationality. Because we have emotions, pardon me. Because we have emotions and our decisions actually are driven by these emotions. Jean-Paul thinks that we are human because we're free to make decisions. And this is actually related to the design. Whenever you make a design decision, you're free to make that design decision within the constraints that you have. But this decision will have consequences. But from my perspective, I think what makes us human is none of these. I think we are human because our perfect imperfection. We are not perfect to be human. Sorry. We do make mistakes. We are driven by emotions. We all have flaws. And this makes us capable of growth and change. And this is why we are human, because we are imperfect. Perfection does not suit our nature. Mistakes teach us. Our flaws makes us relatable. Our emotions makes us compassionate. And because of this, we grow and we learn. So our imperfection is what makes us unique and what makes life worth living. Salvador Dali said, have no fear of perfection. You will never reach it. So don't be afraid of your imperfection. Second question. So we
Maybe you can
established that.
take a small break, maybe some water. Okay.
I'm having, but I just came out of flu, that's why. Pardon me. Give me a second, okay? I'll come back. I'll mute. Let's see how it goes. So how is our imperfection reflected in architecture and design? Look at the iconic buildings in the world. They are all imperfect. They all have flaws. Whether the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Sagrada Familia, or Falling Water. Read about them. They all have flaws. So what could happen if we delegate the design of our built environment to technology? Technology is evolving, it never stops. And this makes us always feel that we are behind. We run and run and run behind technology, and we cannot catch up because each day there is a new layer coming up. Look at the architectural software, for example. Every 3-6 months, we have something new. We have update, we have a new software. So if you rely on technology, you will never catch up. It never ends. So if technology took over, they will be able to understand our emotions through the neuroarchitecture, which I'm going to talk about. Our cities will be smart. And AI can design our buildings based on the information they receive from the city and from our emotions. And this will result in a perfect city, a city that we cannot live in because we are imperfect. We need to be imperfect so we can grow. We must make mistakes and grow. This is an essential need, an essential human need. So if technology took over our world, I think won't be as bright as we think. So should we then abandon technology, leave technology, don't use it? No, of course. It's there, it's coming. We already depend on it. It has many advantages that we all know. So we should use it, we should embrace it. Norman Foster said, the use of technology in architecture is an essential part of the future of the profession. Frank Gehry said technology should not be the driving force behind architecture, but it can be a powerful tool to help us achieve our goals. So what we should do, we should embrace technology. We should use it in a mindful way, which I'm going to show you how we use technology in several work that we are doing now, in a way that I think is mindful. We should be responsible of technology, not the technology responsible of us. And we should be aware of its potential danger. We should use it to aid the design process, not to replace it, to aid creativity also and improve people's quality of life. But also we should regulate it. Next question, how can we use technology in architecture and urban design in a sensible and effective way? Here I'm going to focus about three topics. Actually, technology is a wide field. So I'm going to focus on AI, artificial intelligence, neuroarchitecture, and smart cities. And I'll show you how we use technology in these three topics under our control. We all know AI now, Midjourney, DAL2, and all of this text-to-image generation AI tools. AI is a dangerous tool. Elon Musk tweeted this in May this year, saying, people use AI, but they don't know what's coming on. It's a dangerous journey. And this is a video for him. I understand that you don't hear what he's saying, so I'm gonna summarize it for you. He says that AI is more dangerous than nuclear weapons, and it should be regulated. And this guy knows what he's saying. Similarly, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, who developed Midjourney and ChatGPT, when he was questioned in the Congress, he said that AI manipulates people's beliefs and it changes their views and affects their concepts of what's right and wrong. And as a consequence, it can change people's taste of what good architecture and what bad architecture. So because AI is trained, and we don't know what it was trained on, so we don't know how it was trained to direct the public opinion regarding whether architecture or any other aspect. AI lacks creativity. We have the ability for problem solving. For example, this picture I've got from Twitter, which was like everywhere there. AI won't be able to be as creative as a human being. Infinity plus infinity, there is no answer for this. But this little girl can come up with a creative answer, 8 plus 8, 16. And now there are a lot of AI tools for architecture. As you know, most of the students know them nowadays: Midjourney, DAL2, Wimbo, Night Cafe, etc. And those tools, for those who are not very well familiar with, you input text and they generate a design in 2D for you. So you describe what you want and they design it for you. This is an example of Islamic architecture design generated by AI. As you can see, it's impressive. Those are more advanced example for Maya Abdulsamad. I've got it from her LinkedIn account. And you can see how AI generates something sometimes we cannot imagine. This is a more radical attempts of AI design. Those are really difficult to imagine and difficult to draw also, but AI can generate this for us. At urban level, also AI can be used, or is being used actually now, to design our public spaces. This is a video example of one of the tools where you select a picture of your neighborhood, you select the area where you want the design to change, and then you write here what you want. You want bike lanes, bicycle parking, etc. And then you get what you want. You change here now. They change the park lane with flower pots, and AI generates new designs with benches, and then AI generates the design with benches. This happens in no time. It's very quick. Imagine that you are going to do it using Photoshop or any other simulation software. It will take time. So what we did, we were very conscious about how to best to use AI. We used it. We did experiment with our graduation project, architectural engineering graduation project. The first one, the students wanted to design nature and science museum, and they input this prompt to the Midjourney. Museum, contemporary style, high resolution, infinity form, green roof, nature and science museum. And this was done at the early stage of the design, at the conceptual stage. And this is what AI generated for the student out of this prompt. But after the student went through the design process and the functional, structural, and environmental requirements, these designs proved not viable. And she ended up with this design that functions as museum. So the use of Mid-Journey at the early stage might not lead to is good source for inspiration, but it cannot lead, or is less likely to lead to a successful project because of the lack of the practical considerations such as the function, structure, environment, etc. With another students, Muhammad Al-Muqbali his graduation project was Cultural Center. So he did design the whole thing using the similar process without AI, just conventional process. And he ended up with his design and the elevation. He wasn't satisfied with the elevation. So what he did, he used AI to improve the elevation design. So here is the conscious of the designer. The designer himself put the seed of the creativity into the project, not the AI. Then AI was used to improve the design. So he linked the picture of the elevation of his project, and he explained to the AI he wants elevation of Culture Center in Oman to show the identity of the country and to be modern in the same time. Then the student selected this design and upscale it, and he ended up taking this idea to his design. So in this way, the designer did not lose control over the design. We did not delegate the creativity part that involve a lot of imperfection to the AI. We did the design, then we use the AI to improve the design. And I think this is a very, it could be a very successful way in education practice to actually produce better designs and enrich student ideas while still keep the student as a master of his project. Then I'll move to neuroarchitecture. Neuroarchitecture, it deals with understanding the brain waves and how architecture affects our emotion through the waves, electrical waves that our brain produces. For example, if you ask a person about a building, whether they like it or not, so they will answer, but this answer might not be reliable because there are a lot of issues involved in the answer. So we all heard about the golden ratio. We've been taught since I was a student, actually since Vitruvius' time, that golden ratio is good. Golden ratio is the golden ratio. And designs that are designed with the golden ratio are good. People see it as beautiful. It has less burden on the mind to grasp the design, etc. But as far as we know, there is no single research paper that proved this theory. There are a lot of papers use the stated preferences technique. So they asked people, they showed picture of buildings or designs, and they asked people which building is more beautiful. It's stated preference, and these techniques I wouldn't say not reliable, but have low level of reliability. So we wanted actually to empirically investigate this. So what we did, we've got an EEG system, a system that measures the brain waves using 16 points. It's very simple head machine that you put it on the respondent head and is connected to the computer, and it measures the feeling of the respondent regardless what he or she says. You see, this actually the responses that we don't have control over, the responses that our body produces out of our control. And this machine measures 6 measures. It tells us the level of stress, the level of engagement, the level of interest, excitement, focus, and relaxation at each millisecond. So if we show pictures of buildings or design to build to a person, we know exactly what this design generates in this person's mind. And this is a video shows you the system. So this in real time, it measures in real time the emotion, these 6 emotions and their variations. And it shows you what happens on the brain when the respondent is seeing the pictures of the design, that architectural designs that we are showing them. It's very powerful tool, and it's not expensive anyway. So you can see which part of the brain works more, where the electricity in brain is generated, and this is all numerically documented. Then what we did, we picked the golden ratio and another 4 non-golden ratios. And we designed a set of elevations, very abstract elevations, using golden ratio and the other ratios. And we designed 3D models also. We 3D'd the golden ratio, used it in 3D, and the other ratios. And we designed several 3D forms, some of them with golden ratio, some of them with no golden ratio. And we did the EEG experiment on a sample of our students. And we measured their brain responses to each one of these individual 2D and 3D designs. And the system produces tens of thousands of data points, because it's measured 6 emotions in milliseconds for all of this variation of design. So you get, in the end of the day, a large, big Excel sheet, which is a very rich data set for researchers to actually understand what's going on in the mind per millisecond. Then the data goes through data filtering and curation, because, for example, the eye blink, we need to filter out the eye blink. When the eye closes, the brainwaves is affected with the eye. So we need to take the eye blinks out. And there is like a simple process, not complex, it's automated with the software, comes with the machine. Then you will have your Excel sheet to do all your data analysis, your statistics. So you can do t-tests, you can do your ANOVAs, your regressions, your correlation, whatever you are planning to do. So this, for example, it shows the blue bar shows the engagement between 2 golden and non-golden ratio. And we can see here there is no differences in the engagement between the 2. And surprisingly, we didn't find any significant correlation between the designs with the golden ratio and any positive emotion, like engagement, like meditation, like excitement. So the result of the research hasn't been published yet. We are working on writing it up. But the results does not support the theory that have been there for thousands of years, that is golden ratio is the divine ratio, is what everyone should use. Yeah, so this powerful tool, imagine you can assess different design alternatives. If you are designing your project and you have this simple machine with the software, it tells you which design is perceived better for people. Last example I want to show you is about smart cities. So when we wanted to do research in smart cities, we looked at the components of smart cities. And we found that we built a model for smart city component, and this is published on one of the recent paper, 2022, I think. Those are the main components of smart city: smart economy, smart people, smart environment, policies that enable the smart technology, smart mobility, smart government, smart living, and management and organization. So as you might expect, we focused on smart people because, as I said, I believe that people are the core of our activities as designers of the built environment. We also looked at the definition of smart cities from 1996 till 2002. We found that definition can be split into two. First, before 2016, the focus was on the IT. So there's no focus on human needs within smart city paradigm. Whereas after that, the concept of a humanized smart city appeared, and people starting doing research and doing customization of the smart city concept to involve people in the design process. And as you can see here in the two diagrams, that participation sits at the heart of smart city components and smart city dimensions. Also, because it's smart city, the participation should go digital. So sustainability has social sustainability, social, economical sustainability, and environmental. Social has many components. One of this is community engagement. Community engagement should be done through digital public participation. So the question was how to do digital public participation in urban planning under the smart city paradigm, where people can interact with each other. I don't know if you heard of the social constructivism theory, the theory that relies on the understanding that value is made when people agree on the value itself. For example, privacy in some, say, GCC region countries is very important and very valuable because people agreed about that. Whereas in other areas in Europe, for example, the value of privacy is less, especially when it comes to female. And this actually also applies to the built environment. So you can distill people's opinion individually, but if they talk together to establish a common understanding, or what we call consensus, this where we should focus on. So the challenge is how to get people to interact, to talk digitally. We used a platform called Modilo, where we uploaded a model for a new city in Oman. It's actually actual design from the consultant themselves. Then what you do here as a researcher, you give access to the stakeholders, to the users of potential users of that city. They can navigate through freely. They can fly over freely. And then as you can see here, they can add comments. So if X add comments, later in another time, in his own convenient, another person log in to the system, and they can read what other people wrote, and then they decide their input, what to write, what to comment on. In this way, the digital participation become interactive, 3D digital interactive participation, what we call 3DDB. So people have the chance to understand and to know each other's opinion, to build upon each other opinions. You might read an opinion that change your opinion, and then you realize that what you wanted to say is not relevant or not important. There is another important issues, and also you can reply to that particular person. Yeah, so these are three examples where we used AI, neuroarchitecture, and smart city in terms of digital participation, but where we didn't let technology start the idea. We didn't let technology take our rule and provide a perfect output. No, we designed the whole process. We utilize technology as we need to serve our purpose under our control. And in the end, we ended up with three relatively successful projects. So as a summary, technology in design is already here. So whether it's AI, neuroarchitecture, Internet of Things, smart city, 3D printing, you name it. It's part of our design life. And we cannot stop it. We should not actually stop it. We should embrace it. But we should use it in a sensible way. And we should preserve our control. We don't delegate the important task, the creativity-based task to technology. We should actually do that task ourselves. Then we use technology to refine it and improve it. Finally, I would like to say, like generally, let us assert control over technology and harnessing its power to unlock untapped potential of our minds to purposefully design environment that cultivate greater happiness. Thank you very much, and I finished here.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chaham, for this really inspiring presentation. Really, it touches subjects that is becoming present in every aspect of our modern life, and also the balance between technology and creativity is really very, I find it very inspireful as a subject. Now, I think if we can open the questions for the audience. So please, if you have any question, don't hesitate to ask. I have also my own question, but I will leave it until the end.
Okay.
Okay, we have Abir. Please ask your question. When you want to ask your question, could you please open your camera or send your question on the chat box if you don't want.
Aman hocam, there's a raised hand.
Yeah, Abir and Ezgi.
And Ezgi.
Yeah, I talked to Abir to start, but she, I don't know, she sent something on the chat box. No, there is nothing. Aicha also has a question. So please ask your question.
I think Abir, that's Dr. Abir Laham. I cannot open the mic. Okay.
Abir sent something in the chat box.
Dr. Laham, she's muted, you mean?
She cannot open the mic. Dr. Zohair, thank you. Also, Dr. Zohair, Nasser, also. I guess.
So what to do? Let's take then, I mean, waiting for the microphone problem to be resolved, we will take the question of Ezgi. Ezgi, please ask your question.
Hello. As you said, AI is a really common tool for both designers and architectures, and we use AI also in our projects. But do you think at some point it is limiting us from imagining different things about our projects? And also, how do you think we can prevent ourselves from becoming too attached to AI?
Excellent question. I think it's not limiting us. I think it brightened the image of design more than what we can actually do. It gives like potential, it gives like new opportunities, new designs. But when it comes to the design itself, so the function and structure and other actual practical limitation, we cannot implement the design that AI provided, which actually become depressing on the designer. So that's why in my presentation, what I found useful with my students is to let them develop the concept, do the schematic and the detailed design, then use the AI to improve what they have already. But if you do it vice versa, actually you're building like a field of flowers in a desert. So everything is bright in AI, But when it comes to your project, you need to submit, you need to achieve certain requirements. It won't be as good as you imagined or as you wanted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here. Can I talk?
Yes. Could you just present yourself, please?
Yes, this is Abir Al-Laham. I'm
okay.
from Imam Abdurrahman bin Faisal University in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chaham. Very interesting talk, actually. But I have a few comments or questions, if you like. Now, the three tracks you mentioned, starting with the AI in architecture, neuro architecture, and smart cities. Basically, the focus was on the visual, physical product of architecture or urbanism. In terms of AI, basically, you tackled the technology in terms of generating the image, generating the form only. So as in the neuro, when you talked about the neuro architecture, when you tested using that tool, which you considered as technology, when you tested the people's responses towards building, embodying the golden ratio, this is basically the visual impact on the people's emotions and interactions. So this matter of how to what is people's response towards the proportions is different, because the golden ratio itself has been generated through rationality, people's rationality, or since Plato. And today, people don't believe in that rationality in terms of image making. So their responses toward that rationality is different than if we tested it like 100 years ago or during the classical age. So that response keeps changing. So you cannot actually generalize anything out of it. Still, it is only testing the people's response toward image, toward physical end product. Same for the smart building. When you use that simulation for what you call user participation or people's participation, actually you only looked at it through the modeling, the end result. You did not tackle user participation in terms of the social, the underlying layers. So in a way, what the three things that you talked about enhances the shallowness and the superficial tracks that architecture is going through today, and we are not anymore facing the social side of architecture, which we should do it using this technology. So I don't know, how can we merge between technology and the physical together? And thank you again for your talk.
Thank you, Dr. Abir, and thank you for attending. Actually, first of all, yani, good to have you. You raised many things, actually, very, yani, I would say something I agree with, something I disagree with. First of all, architecture is visual and functional. Both of them work together to produce our architecture. So we cannot isolate, and we should not isolate one from the other. They work together in a comprehensive system, in a harmony, to deliver what it's supposed to deliver. What I presented is part of the work for the aim of this particular presentation. For the AI, yes, it's purely visual. I totally agree with you. We haven't used AI in a deeper way because we don't know how yet. I don't know how. Please let me know if you have any idea about it. The tools that we have up to now from the AI, whether it's ChatGPT and similar tools, and Midjourney and similar tools, this is what allows us to do. So yes, I agree with you. First is visual, and this is important for the students who are attending to see the experiment that we did with our students. For the neuro architecture, I kind of disagreeing with you because it's not superficial, because it measures your subconscious, your uncontrolled reaction. Based on visual, yes, next step is to design a 3D building, build a building, take a group of respondents into a walk-through building while measuring their brainwaves. The technology does not allow us to do that at that time, but now there's like glasses that measure the brain. It's very simple, non-intrusive. It can be done. So the technology is there, can be used, but depends how you want to use it. If you want to use it for social aspects, AEG, yes, use it. Neuroarchitecture, I mean, what we call AEG, use the tool in social aspects. Yes, you can do that. Get the people together, measure their brainwaves in different spaces where they gather or where they move, and then you will get a better understanding of the environment. Lastly, about smart cities, what I presented is about social, is the core of it is social constructivism theory. The whole paradigm is based on getting people together to discuss what's good for them, whether it's visual or it's practical. Yeah, maybe I take too long. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for this response. Now I think we can move to Aisha. Please ask your question, please.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I was just wondering, for example, speaking of AI tools, now we know that they're not like very sufficient enough to like maybe replace human work, but like speaking from like 50 years on now, how do you think like the craftsmanship of architecture will be preserved, or will it be preserved, like and AI won't be taking many human like jobs and like spaces? Do you think like that's really realistic? Are we going to be able to preserve that?
No, I think they will take our places, regardless what we do, because there is a larger power willing to do that, willing to give power to technology, AI in general. And I would recommend watching a series called Westward.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it answers your question actually.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So we can do nothing. What we can do is to embrace it, to use it currently for our benefit, to master it if we can. But in the end, who knows where it goes?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. The idea is not to be overwhelmed by the technology, maybe, but we should use it. Yes. Anyway, now is I think Miss Inas. I think Inas Afandi or Linas. Please, are you there? Can you open your mic and ask your questions or question? If you want.
She has a question in the chat box.
Chat box. Okay. I don't have it.
The integration of augmented reality and visual environments in architectural design seems promising. Could you share your insight on how these technologies might influence community engagement and public participation in shaping urban spaces?
That's thank you, Linas, for this question. Actually, augmented reality is another topic under technology that we are working on, but I haven't presented here. I think it's very powerful, very important tool, and actually it's linked to Dr. Abir's Laham question about not limiting the involvement of technology in design to the visual aspect of architecture. Augmented reality allows us to go through the building, experience the spatial structure of the building. And one of the projects that we worked on, actually we submitted a paper under review on that. We wanted to see using VR, augmented reality, not VR, and PIM combined with building information modeling, how people navigate and what design aspect attracts them. And we use variation of materials, variation of glass height. So we managed to understand what works better and in line with people preferences. The next step actually, which would be very interesting, I'm looking forward to do that in here in our university, is to combine augmented reality and EEG system. So we know how people navigate through the building in the using the augmented reality while measuring their brain waves. So we know exactly how the building works for them at visual and social aspect also, if I may. So I think as a student, I don't know if you're a student or not, but I think it's for students it's very interesting topic to explore. Start with the VR and move to augmented reality. And it's very, very powerful tool.
Okay, thank you. Now, Braika, could you ask your question, please?
Yes, hello. My question was, as university students, do you think that using AI for our designs, or for example, there's also AIs that maybe like help with technical drawings, do you think that's considered as plagiarism? Or because we believe that it's something that's not allowed, so maybe some students don't go to that direction. So I want to know what's, let's say, the opinion of professors about that.
Yeah, there are two dimensions of your question. First, what happens if you as a student use AI and submitted your projects that are designed with the help of AI? In this case, what will happen, you will be dependent on the AI as a student. When you graduate and you are on the site or sitting with a client requiring you to come up with a design, sketch a design on the spot, you won't be able to do that because you don't have the tool that you have been using during your study. So I would not recommend using AI, especially for the technical drawing. You mentioned technical drawing in the early design studios. However, I still think we should embrace the technology and use it, but in later stage, in the more advanced stage, maybe in the graduation project. Whether it's plagiarism or not, I think this is up to how the studio is managed. And with my student, we agree on that. So the student, we establish like a timeline of the project, and we agree at which stage the student is supposed to use AI and which stage is not. So when he or she comes up with the design, I know this is an AI generated or it's the student effort, him or herself. So I think whether it's plagiarism or not, it should be agreed with the professor of your own studio. On publication now, I'm the chief editor of Open House International for Emerald, the big publisher. If AI is used, we don't consider it plagiarism used in writing paper, but this should be stated in the acknowledgement section. So the author must state clearly which tool he used and how the tool was used. If the tool was used to paraphrase and improve the language, that's totally fine. But if the tool is used to generate data or to run analysis, no, that's from our perspective, it's not acceptable. Because we know, for example, ChatGPT generates fake references to support his argument. So back to your argument, you should use it with the agreement of, but your question, I mean, you should use AI in the agreement under the umbrella of your studio. You should follow what your supervisor or your studio instructor advises.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions so far? In the chat box, I'll take a look.
Not question, but
no question in the
comments maybe, or Dr. Chaham, thank you for your inspiring presentation. Actually, I would like to share my opinions about AI. It is very new in our design culture or production culture, let's say. I think we appreciate and respect the artworks. We can call it architecture, literature, or music, or we are impressed by the creativity in such fields when we think of the limited capabilities and imperfections of a human. So when we know that it is AI created, I think it will affect our perception as well. And also, we are designing for human beings mostly. So our imperfect designs are perceived by imperfect eyes and imperfect cognition as well. And I think this matches perfect. So we find goods what are familiar with and what we are familiar with and what we are comfortable with. So it is very personal, but I believe we may not feel that comfortable with totally AI-driven creations unless we have control over them as an imperfect existence. So it can be a useful tool if we have control over it to a substantial degree and leave it free for a limited area, like your example about paraphrasing. Yes, for a limited area, we can use it. But for the rest of them, I think we need to have a control over it. But thank you for it. It is good to see your opinions and your interesting experiments.
Thank you very much. Actually, you very clever summary of what I wanted to say. Yani, you just touched on the core of the presentation. Is that if technology designed for us, we live in a perfect world and we are not perfect. We won't be comfortable. We should not delegate creativity. We should start the creativity process and use technology to improve that, not replace us. So thank you very much for the summary.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sinam. So for any other questions? Last call for any other questions? Oh, okay, no. I'll ask mine then. It was a bit of comment and a question about the point raised by Dr. Abir Al-Laham. So in fact, combining the social factor is important, but because you mentioned that, for example, there are some values like privacy, which is not really understood well by the AI, or yes, I'm not that sure. But although in privacy, you know that in the privacy is not the only aspects of this. In our old historic cities, there is a kind of social pact. And this social pact was hidden, in fact. Is not everybody knows it, but it's not written. So it's
intangible.
Intangible. So it's from generation to another. So this is really transfer from generation to generation. So there are some hidden social pacts among the population that I think it's very difficult to be understood by the technology, in fact. So this is the it was not really a question. It was but the question is, it is possible in the future, because now technology detects every single aspect, tiny aspects of our life. Generally speaking, social life, preferences, health life.
Yes.
I mean, vacations, everybody, preferences.
Regarding the comment, Dr. Ma'an, what you mentioned is what I like to call is the storytelling effect. And this is what architecture does. It's a continuation of a story. AI, I agree with you, up to now might not be able to understand this continuation. So the designs come up from the AI loses the storytelling effect. When you go to visit a building, Colosseum, for example, you try to understand why it's built like this. What's the story behind it? What preceded before? What kind of buildings came before it and after it? So it's like a continuous scale. AI have a different point of view on that. But whether it's able to understand in the future, I think yes. And this is in one of the slides I mentioned. Neuroarchitecture can teach technology about our emotion. Smart cities concept with the sensors can teach AI about our behavior. And Midjourney and similar AIs, if they get trained with the data from the neuroarchitecture and from the sensor of the smart city, they will be able to understand us. They will be able, maybe in the long future, not immediate future, but at some point they'll be able to understand that intangibility that is embedded in our buildings and cities. But I don't think that would be immediate. Conspiracy theory, though, suggests that it is this technology is there, but it's not released yet. Like the GPS, it exists like 20, 30 years before we knew anything about it. But who knows? Let's see. Wait and see. Our children, I think, will answer this question.
Okay, I hope not. All right. No more questions. In fact, thanks, Dr. Chaham, for this. Yeah.
Man hocam, just Mahmut Hoca has a question.
Okay.
He asks
because in my chat box, question didn't appear.
If there
I don't
is
know
a
why.
link to follow Mr. Chaham's research.
So
yes,
please, then if there are any questions in the chat box, then it's on your shoulder, Sinam.
No, okay.
Yes.
No problem. So, Dr. Chaham, is there a specific link to follow your research, or?
Yes, if you exist on all social media, and I share my research on Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn also, but the main source, if you go to search my name and you type next to it Google Scholar, Chaham Alalouch, I type it on the chat box.
Also Yiğit hocam, I think wrote it. You wrote your name.
Yeah, and just Google Scholar, you'll find the list of all of my publications. Then you can pick up whatever interests you. And if you don't have access to that paper through your university access, just email me and I'll send you the paper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions in the chat box, or this is the only one?
This was the only one. Actually, I didn't notice that Yiğit hocam responded it.
Thank you, Dr. Asma.
Okay.
Asma Rajab says thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abir. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we came to an end if there are no more questions. Thank you, Dr. Chaham, for being with us. And thank you for also these really instructive presentation and subjects. And I think we have a tradition in our ArchiDesign Talks. So could you maybe Yiğit Hoca or Sinam then maybe, or?
Yeah, we, Yiğit hocam.
Maybe if it is possible, maybe we can share the screen to show our certificates.
We have a tradition that we donate in our guest's name. This goes to SEY Foundation, who just supports the education of unprivileged children.
Wow.
So we have a donation in your in your name.
In your name.
Oh, wow. An innovative idea. Technology will not come up with such an innovative idea.
Definitely.
Very, very good.
Thank
very,
you.
very highly appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Highly appreciated. Yeah. Maybe in
Thank
the future,
you.
I'll copy the idea.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, thanks again for. Okay, Sinam Hoca, you want to tell something?
No. I think Man Hoca will send the certificate of the donation
Perfect.
and your valuable participation. Thank you for being with us and for this inspiring presentation.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. I apologize for the cough, but things went well after that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah. In the second half of the presentation, things went well. Good.
Yeah, better.
All right. Okay, thanks again for being with us, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
And thanks
I'm
for the
stopping
audience
the recording.
also. And thanks for the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.